Early voting has started in the primary runoff elections. Get out there and vote. Joining us to talk about his campaign for Railroad Commissioner, Wayne Christian, back on the show with us. Good morning, Mr. Christian. How are you?
Chad, good to be with you this morning. I'm running kind of hoarse. Went to the convention this week and talked about, I think, about 37 different congressional and senatorial districts, but the folks were wonderful.
Well, that's great. Let's talk about that just a little bit. Since you were at the convention, what as far as the reception and the folks that you were talking to, what are their attitudes towards your race?
I think they were very receptive. Overly receptive, of course, and this is exciting because these are the core workers that get out there and spread the word across the state during this early voting time. And I think they understood the fact that experience does matter in any job and a resume matters. And when I presented the challenge that oil and gas has, I know you in West Texas understand oil and gas and the Railroad Commission and the threat of this sunset law that can change all the rules and regulations for the next decade. But I was able to, in a fast manner, explain that to them, and I think they understood the threat to our entire economy, your words, 30% of the state budget.
Talk to our audience a little bit about your campaign and what you think is the biggest threat and the biggest reason why people should elect you.
Short term, it's the legislative session that's about to come up in January, which means there's no time for anybody to do intensive training for how to operate in the legislative process. And the reason that's important is because of the sunset bill that the Railroad Commission will face, which literally opens up all of the rules to oil and gas and coal and all of our natural resources to the amendments of what I jokingly but factually call all the lizard-loving tree huggers, EPA, Al Gore, Hillary Clinton, one of all clean green energy folk. They literally will have the opportunity to change the direction of oil, gas, and coal mining and drilling in the state of Texas. And once they do that in the sunset session, if we're not able to battle them and defeat them, they close that law back up, and it's very hard to change for about another 10 years. So this recovery that we all understand will naturally come, or not naturally, but does come with our oil and gas market, may not be as quick and may not be as effective and as easy if we have the rules changed in the game before we get back in the fight.
You obviously you're in a runoff, so you have one other opponent. What is it between you and your opponent that when people look at this race, what is the major difference between the two of you?
Well, just like you would for any job you hire for, you look at the resume, you look at their qualifications, their experience. I have 14 years in the Texas legislature. I have served on the Energy Committee, Regulated Industry, State Affairs, Ways and Means, all of which have direct oversight to the Railroad Commission. So I'm the fellow also that you can look at the proven results. And that's why I've been endorsed for the first time in history by the Texas Oil and Gas Association, by the LP Gas Association, and many other of the industry groups because they understand the risk we have in this next session is that I am the only experienced candidate that is sitting there prepared to join with the other two commissioners and defend our oil and gas industry. Understand, the bureaucrats have already come out with their list of proposals, and a couple of their proposals moved from the elected Railroad Commission, which for 125 years has been the example on planet Earth of how you best do oil, gas, and coal and natural resources. And this bunch of bureaucrats in their proposal says we need to move the judicial procedures, which make decisions on whether a complaint is good or bad, out of the Railroad Commission to a bureaucratic agency that is composed of only people that are not elected. Also, they have proposed to move the natural gas rate setting rules over to the PUC and several other places that they're talking about just dismantling the power of the Railroad Commission. That is very dangerous. I'm one of these old folks from East Texas that says if it works, don't fix it. Of course, we always adjust things, protect the public, do what's right, and there's always ways to improve. But folks, most of all, Texas has got the best operation going. We've proven we know how to do it better than anybody else. And the idea of dismantling our Railroad Commission and changing directions to a bunch of bureaucrats instead of elected officials scares me to death.
Well, and we're visiting with Wayne Christian, candidate for Railroad Commissioner, and in fact, we just received an email that was sent out to supporters of Charles Perry, State Senator Charles Perry. He, of course, endorses you in this race. I know you're glad to have that endorsement. For folks out there, and Wayne, obviously, you've done a lot of traveling. You've talked to a lot of folks out there, and I still hear people who ask the question about Railroad Commissioner, what do you do? Obviously, you've been talking about that this morning. For the Texan that doesn't have a direct connection to oil and gas, or they don't believe they have a direct connection to oil and gas, what is it? Why is this race important to them in your mind?
Well, your second statement was correct. They don't believe they have a connection, but if they drive on highways in Texas, if they have children in public schools or grandchildren, if they enjoy law enforcement in the state of Texas, then they are directly impacted by oil, gas, and coal. Understand the last 7 years, Barack Obama bragged that our economy grew by 2%, a menial recovery. Had it not been for oil, gas, coal in Texas, that would have been a negative figure. Everybody in Texas, 30% of the retail market, forget government, retail market out here, that's jobs and incidental jobs and connected jobs to the oil and gas industry, account for 1/3, 30% of our retail economy. And at the government level, where schools, law enforcement, and our roads and bridges, that's 17% to 20%. You're talking totally almost 50% effect to the budget for oil, gas, and coal in Texas, either directly or indirectly. Every Texan is affected. That's why people are moving by the tons to the state of Texas, because we have and have done business like no other state has.
Wayne Christian, candidate for Railroad Commissioner. Wayne, give out your website so if folks have any other questions or they want to see any of your other top issues, they can see those on your website.
ChristianForTexas.com. ChristianForTexas.com. And thank you, Chad, for letting me be on your program. And thanks, Senator Perry, for his endorsement and support.
Absolutely. Appreciate you coming on, and good luck out there.
Thank you, brother.
That's Wayne Christian, candidate for Railroad Commissioner. Appreciate him joining us this morning.